We've got a list of 2024's worst selling vehicles, the most unsuccessful vehicles, compliments of Car Edge, but really what we want to get down to is you check day supply, and I want to break this down. There's a couple common denominators, one of them being large amount of Stellantis products, and they keep preaching to us that they're giving us great bang for buck, when we know that clearly it was really more to maximize profits for the brand, and the other one is selling electrified vehicles. And so there's a couple of common denominators. Before I give you this list, I came across this amazing saying from C.S. Lewis, who absolutely crushed it. And he says, of all tyrannies, a tyranny sincerely exercised for the good of his victims may be the most oppressive. It would be better to live under robber barons than under ominous moral busybodies. The robber baron's cruelty that sometimes sleep, this cupidity may at some point be satiated. But those who torment us for our own good will torment us without the end they do so with the approval of their own conscience. So now they feel good about selling these high-priced vehicles. Clearly, we're seeing a lot of these vehicles from Stellantis are some of the highest priced vehicles and the least value add for a lot of customers, as well as the electrified vehicles. A lot of customers are no longer on board. We're seeing the fact that the range anxiety issues, as well as the sheer cost of buying them outright, seem to be cost prohibitive for a lot of people. And the early adopters got on board, but that's it. Now it seems to have flattened out. But let's break this from the top. Let's just say the average day supply based on the Nation and Cox Automotive is saying it's about 77 days supply. Great. So where does that leave these other brands? Well, they're all around double or beyond. As a matter of fact, some of these vehicles that I've found, I'm finding 2022s of Rams, for example, and I want to share that because Stellantis is struggling selling a lot of their products. And looking at Cox's chart, we're seeing a lot of the vehicles. Jeep, although they've sold a few more vehicles because of the heavy incentives, they're still at 122 days supply, which is almost double the industry average. And the Dodge products are up about 149 days supply, which is obviously well beyond. And even worse on top of that, some of the European brands from Stellantis, Alfa Romeo, Ram, and as well Jaguar and Mini, which are non-Stellantis products, are also well in excess of the double. With the being the worst selling, this does represent and opens the door for great incentives, maybe 0% down, maybe hard negotiations. You can walk in there, and if you like any of these vehicles, there may be some great opportunities. And as we round out the end of the year and 25 start rolling in, guaranteed some of these vehicles are going to be great possibilities for some great deals. So first of all, let's take this from the top. We know Stellantis has struggled. One of the worst selling vehicles on the industry, bar none, is the Dodge Hornet. Stickers for about $32,995. Features a 2-liter 4-cylinder engine, 9-speed automatic transmission, ZF of course, 269 horse, 295 pound-feet of torque. It's all-wheel drive. And quite frankly, it's always been a really, really poor seller. It's not that, it's not that it's the worst looking vehicle, but based on the Alfa Romeo Tonale, if they want something Italian, they're going to buy Italian, not a Dodge wrapped in Italian skin and then pay just as much money. So it's just been a poor seller, but guaranteed with day supply rising, and we're seeing lots all over the entire industry. I'm pulling up classifieds, and I'm finding and reiterating that there's lots of these available. You will get yourself a deal if you push. So don't take no for an answer. Don't let the dealers tell you that they're such a hot commodity, because they're not. Trust me, the Dodge Hornet is not. There's some good things. There's only one of two Dodges, that one and the Durango. They are technologically advanced. They have a great looking interior, and as well, they have good EPA ratings. They get fuel economy because of their small engine. The downside, of course, they're quite expensive for what they are. They could be a little bit quicker, and they're kind of small, so cargo space is kind of pathetic. The next one in line is the Jeep Grand Wagoneer L. Starts at a $94,000, $93,000 and change. Full size, body on frame. Yes, you can haul the boat and the trailer, but they're very expensive. And for a while, they had gained some market share. They were starting to pick up momentum, but they are poor sellers all the way around. They come with basically a twin turbocharged 3-liter inline 6, 8-speed automatic transmission, 510 horsepower, lots of jam, but they're competing with some big players in the Cadillac space, as well as Yukons and the GMs. So they're fighting a losing battle with some very popular and heavy metal out there. And not only that, it's at a time when people are looking for more cost-effective, more affordable means. But you know what? With a towing capacity of 9,800 pounds, it does represent, it does fill the bill for a lot of people looking for a large vehicle that can haul a lot of weight and move their family along in comfort. It's got a great interior. I will say it's got a powerful Hemi and, of course, the towing capacity like a full-size truck. Those are all wins. It does kind of look like a big brick. That's a downside. It's not particularly pretty, too many screens, lots of technology. And we know with Stellantis, that's guaranteed failure mode. So it's also got pricing that's aligned with vehicles that you'll find from BMW, the X7s and the full-size Audis. So they're really battling with some of the top luxury brands, and it's a Jeep. It's not a luxury brand. Then the next one in line is a Jeep Renegade. They sticker at about $29,445. Not a great vehicle. They're basically a Fiat Panda, not good quality. They don't look great. The only thing positive with the Tiger Shark engine, they're relatively economical and you get a manual gearbox as an option. But they're poorly made. There's lots of problems with them. And quite frankly, they're actually been more or less discontinued. So you can't even really find them unless you're on the used car market. But they do happen to come with a 1.3 liter 4-cylinder, 9-speed auto or manual, as I said, some of the older models. 177 horsepower. That's a lot to push out. They do tend to, I've heard, heavy oil, allegedly heavy oil and fuel consumption. They're not the most economical that way. And with a towing capacity of 2,000 pounds, really not towing much other than maybe your lawnmower. Pros, large interior for what they are. Good cargo capacity because they're very square and boxy. Cons, like who's it really made for? It's sort of missing the mark on demographics, but hey, it's ridiculously underpowered. And any of these engines now, from this, the Ford also has the EcoSport as well as Buick and the Encore and their 1.3 liter turbo engines. It's ridiculous. These 3-cylinder engines are silly. And the transmission is kind of questionable as well. Next one in line is Mercedes-Benz GLC, the $48,600 sticker. Not a surprise. Mercedes-Benz has been struggling, and a lot of the Euro brands has been struggling. Have you heard of the latest? Mercedes is actually thinking about discontinuing the GLC, forsaking this transition to electric market, and they're actually looking at sacrificing some of these models, and the GLC and the GLE being the other one, allegedly, because the Chinese market currently owns about 1/3 of Mercedes sales, but they're losing the market share in China because the cost competitiveness is not there for Mercedes. So they're losing sales there. They were trying to outfit vehicles that were built for cabs. They sort of waved bye-bye to that and let Volkswagen take the reins there. And quite honestly, Mercedes-Benz has lost their way with the AMG C-Class, with it being a Turbo 4 and a hybrid. They're losing a lot of their core clientele, and they feel like, in my opinion, they've sort of lost their way. Hence, this is one of their best sellers, and they're looking at sacrificing this like a roasted pig. So it does come with a mild hybrid 2-liter turbo 4, 255 horse, 0 to 65.5 seconds. It's a brisk little unit. Total sold only 159 units in about a month and a half. Pretty sad, actually. And so, it's got a great towing capacity for what it is. Beautiful interior. I mean, for pros, they have some of the nicest interior finishing in the Mercedes out of all their competition. It's relatively affordable when you look at some of their competition. Again, if you buy more base trim, don't step up all the features. The downside, the M-Bucks is a bit of a pain, and they're getting rid of a lot of the actual buttons, and that's where the M-Bucks and some of the new controls inside. Volkswagen's struggling with that too. But the piano gloss black can get fingerprints, and trust me, I've seen it. We own an older C-Class that has some of that piano finishing on it, and it scratches. You don't even want to look at it. You don't want to touch it. You don't want to wipe it because it'll scratch and it'll look like junk. Next one in line is the Alfa Romeo Stelvio, with a sticker from about $47,545. It's been a poor sale for quite some time. Now, I think these drive well. I've driven these Alfas, and I love the way the Alfa Romeos drive. I think they have a newfound style that we don't find with all the garden variety, the Beamers, Benzes, and Audis. So it brings something fresh to the market, but it just never really caught on. And so days supply is very, very high with Alfas. And quite honestly, where does Alfa fall? Well, we already said Alfa Romeo is at least double the industry average. So they're not a good seller. And the Stelvio is just not doing particularly well. And with that, you do get a 2-liter turbo 4, an 8-speed auto, ZF, of course. that ZF Auto, they're putting in just about everything, but it's a good transmission. 280 horsepower, and it's got about a tow capacity of about 3,000 pounds or thereabouts. They've only sold about 138 units in 45 days. Ouch. So not a good seller, and you know, it's quite punchy, it's brisk, it sounds good, but you know, it's a little finicky, pricey, and trying to find the dealer network for servicing can be challenging. And I think that's what some of the challenges are. The worst part is, you know, the Alfa Romeo Tonale, which is their lower model in Alfa's lineup, actually has a nicer interior. So the Stelvio has a bit of a dated interior, and it was time for a refresh. But with day supply rising and the poor sales, the days are numbered there. Another one that we're looking at here is a mini hardtop. You know, there's lots of competition in this space. If you want something that's more or less built and derived by BMW, that's great. However, it's not a BMW, so most people that want a BMW will buy one. So it sort of falls short there a little bit. It's priced very high. I love the way they drive, and I truly believe the Minis are some of the most fun, entertaining driver's vehicles out there. The short wheelbase and the short extensions outside of the wheels. It's a fun package. It looks fun. It drives fun. But you know, you've got basically a couple of options. You've got a 1.5 liter turbo 3. Here we go again, and a 2 liter 4-cylinder. 6-speed auto, 135 to 189 horsepower depending on the engine. Front wheel drive, 45 days, 132 units. Not good. What can you say? It's a Mini. It looks great, it has a cool name, and it's fresh. It's not like every other garden variety vehicle, so that's a win. Another win is, you know, they do have at least the larger engine, and go with the 4-banger. And also some downsides with this. You know, the 3-cylinder is a little bit weak and anemic. The interior is a little bit of an acquired taste, and it does feel a little bit kind of odd. So it's not for everybody, but it's a cool, authentic, retro type little vehicle. So kind of depends what, you know, how you float your boat, but they're not selling well. Another really poor seller, and this one, again, Stellantis, and it's electric. So this is where we talk about where these car manufacturers are trying to gaslight us into believing what we want, which is electric vehicles, small turbocharged engines in some cases, and of course Stellantis preaching that they have the end-all be-all of all the vehicles, and clearly we've seen their prices way too high, far higher than most other competition. But the Fiat 500e was actually put on hiatus because of such brutal sales. They actually stopped production. It's that bad. The 500e is absolutely horrible. They started the sticker price at $34,000, but if you look at my list, you'll see drastic reductions, $10,000 or more off of the sticker price. When you scroll down, you'll see lots of these vehicles, you know, 30% off of sticker. So it represents a massive deal. If you want to get into small subcompact electric vehicle, hey, they might actually fit the bill. But here's some basic statistics. If you want something kind of cheapish, and along the same lines, this is what's happening in Europe. So they are trying to transition in Stellantis, but North America, that car seems to be falling flat on its face. Yeah, it has an electric motor because they took the 500 and they scrapped the IC and they basically replaced it with the E, and now it's all electric. 42 kilowatt hours, 117 horsepower. It's got a front wheel drive, 0 to 60, 7.8. So Tesla is not in trouble there. 93 miles per hour top speed. They only sold 107 units in 45 days. That's devastating. And partially is the range. I mean, if you look at the range, it varies from 150 to about 160 miles. That's pretty rough. That's not good range. And for a little city dweller or a little village dweller, it might work fine. And it's cute styled. You know, it has the Uconnect 5 operating system, which is kind of funky and fresh. The interior is kind of cute because it's a new model, revised. But it's kind of just pricey, and that's what I said. It's already a 30% too high. Now they're pricing it down 30% lower, just trying to get people in the door. And it's really, it's just absolutely brutal. That's what happened to Mazda. Remember they had that MX, but Mazda had that little absolutely abysmal range on their pure EV, and it just didn't last very long because of that. People need the range. Don't even bring that to the table if it doesn't have range, but that's what they did here. Alfa Romeo Giulia, $43,285 as sticker price. Part of the platform from the Stelvio, but this is the sedan. Not a great seller. Again, you know, you have dealer network challenges, getting access to servicing, reliability concerns. You know, we've heard others from some of the big critics say that it's one of the worst for reliability. And so between a compromise of the Euro brand, overpriced, Stellantis associated, limited dealer network, reliability challenges or reputation, just puts this in a rough spot. 280 horse, 8-speed auto, 2-liter turbo 4, same as the other one, 0 to 65.7 and 149 mile an hour top speed. You're good on the Autobahn there. They sold 80 units in the last month and a half. 80 units. You'll definitely get a deal there. So it's got a cutesy interior, fun and fresh. As I said, it's a little bit dated. There's some nicer products on the market now. It's honestly a little bit light on cargo space, and it does sound good, and the peppy 4-cylinder is kind of fun, but it's just not really what a lot of people are looking for. So the next one is Hyundai Kona Electric. Here we go again. Electric vehicles, not a surprise. We know Hyundai and Kia were really trying to heavily incentivize a lot of their products to get them to sell. They weren't selling. And usually 0% means zero interest, right? So here we are. The Kona Electric, 34 grand was just priced too high. Very little interest in this. Single electric motor. You get a combo of either 49 kilowatt to 65 kilowatt hours, and you can get anywhere from 133 to 200 horsepower. It would be peppy with 198 pound-feet of torque. It's front-wheel drive only, 109 miles an hour, and it's got a range of up to 260 miles, which is, you're up in that 400 or 500 kilometer range. Not amazing. In 45 days, they've sold 74 units. I think I saw one of these driving around once. There's almost none of them out there. They're cute interiors. I'll give them that. Hyundai and Kia are crushing it on their interiors, but their ICE engines and their Theta 2 engines have developed such a reputation that a lot of people are shying away from the brand. It's a little slower than a lot of their competition, and quite honestly, the ranges aren't amazing. So it just doesn't scream. It doesn't holler out that, hey, come buy me. People just aren't buying them. And then, not a shocker, here we have a big one on the list. And, when you have big price tags, usually it shies people away. Of course, luxury brands, big price tags, often chases people away. Not to mention, it's not a surprise, we've talked about the e-tron GT by Audi being terrible. How about the RS e-tron GT, where they sticker about $108,000 base, and they start with 469 to 637 horsepower. Essentially is the Porsche car as well. They also have the similar vehicle, and it's all-wheel drive, 2.9 seconds, 0 to 60, 150 miles an hour, up to 240 mile range. So again, not spectacular. And really, in 45 days, they've sold 65 units. Not a lot of interest there either. So blistering acceleration, futuristic cabin, they look great. But if you're going that much, you're probably going with the Porsche instead. And Audi just, it feels like they've sort of lost their mojo here. Not enough range, super expensive, and there's just not enough space, like cargo space. So it just doesn't seem to meet the criteria. It's very expensive. And the people that usually are well-heeled that are spending that kind of money are buying something a little bit more conventional with more guaranteed range. Not to mention they're competing with the likes of the Model S and Model X plaids, which have a little bit more reputation and cost a little bit less money. So it's a tough spot, and these conventional manufacturers are finding it very, very difficult. But with any of these, you'll notice there's a common denominator: electric and Stellantis. Other than the exception of, we had a Hyundai in there, and of course we had a Mercedes. Generally speaking, the electric vehicle selling is a hard sale, and we're seeing that, and that it's creating a challenging space for these manufacturers to try to advance electrification, but at the meantime, knowing full well that the regulators, the EPA, and in Europe, the EU, are all bearing down on these manufacturers to have all these vehicles switched over, with 5 or 10 years. So it's a tough spot, and the weak are going to find themselves in a really, real tough place in trying to remain competitive here. So with all of these vehicles, you could find yourself some great deals. Just know that these are poor sellers. So if you're thinking about buying something like this and you were considering one of these models anyway, just know because of the poor sales, you can go in there and fast talk your way into a deal. And if they don't want a deal, walk. There's another dealer down the road. So that's what I have to say. I hope that shares some of the lists of some of the poorest sellers, the biggest losers of 2024. And with all of that said, be sure to check out right there. Hope to see each and every one of you in the next one. See you real soon. Bye. Bye-bye.